Today, I will be interviewing Bryce Rogers, who currently works hand in hand with his father, providing guidance and advice on a thoroughbred colt that they are training together. Between the two of them, they have raised and/or trained over 1,000 racehorses. Bryce then decided to go ahead and join the Army rather than continue in the racing industry outside of guidance and advising. So, Bryce, how long were you an exercise rider?
Well, actually, I started out as a groom, which basically they get the horses ready in the mornings for the exercise rider. And then I eventually worked my way up to becoming an exercise rider, getting my license, that sort of thing. And I was an exercise rider for probably roughly around 10 years.
So you said that you had to get a license to become an exercise rider. What does that entail?
Well, you have to know the different poles on the track, which are labeled with colors, like the 5/8 pole, the half-mile pole, that sort of thing. Then you have to take a written test, and then you also have to be supervised by the outrider and also your trainer that you work for.
Okay, and what is an outrider?
An outrider is an individual that's mounted on a horse, and he's basically the overall responsibility of keeping the racetrack under control, catching loose horses, that sort of thing.
Okay. So, Bryce, what made you decide to work as an exercise rider? Is there a family history in the job?
Not really. I mean, well, aside from the fact that my dad has been one since he's been, in his teens. I love being around horses so much. Yeah, I just figured, since I work in that, type of atmosphere, that I should try to pick it up and, make some more money on the side.
All right. So, Bryce, what type of horses did you work with? Did you work with any horses that the majority of the population may know? Or was it mostly just small barn horses that were hoping to have a future?
Mostly small barn horses. Young babies, 2-year-olds that just first come into the track, getting them ready. Not necessarily experienced, so we're just kind of just giving them a leg up and giving them more experience from day to day.
So what did your responsibilities include, not only as an exercise rider, but currently in assisting your dad?
Well, when we go to races or watch races on TV, because if I'm in one location and he's in another, I'll tell him, go look at this horse in a claiming race and see if he's worth buying, and then he'll do the same with me. And so it's kind of like a mutual advising role.
Okay, and what about as an exercise rider?
My job was to, take the horses, get them ready, bring them up to the track. Depending on what their exercise routine was for that day, would either be a jog, a walk around the track, gallop, a breeze, and the distances would range. You would go like 3/4 of a mile, 5/8 of a mile, half mile, or up to a full mile. Depending on what that day's routine was. And sometimes the routine was not necessarily the same from, Monday to Friday. It was different on Mondays, different on Tuesdays, that sort of thing.
Okay, and when you say a breeze, what do you mean?
That's basically, you let the horse run at his, you let him stretch out basically. Stretch his legs out and you'll be able to see his full running speed and potential at that point.
Okay. And when you do the breezes, are you pushing them to extend completely, or are you just allowing them to run?
It varies. Sometimes, the trainer will say, breeze them, but don't push them too hard. So then you just kind of, you don't, and that's when I would, just not use a whip, or, I would just, not hold him back as much.
So, what types of risks did you face?
Well, for one, when you're doing gate training, you run the risk of the horse flipping out inside the gate, rearing up, and either dumping you between the horse in the gate, or you'll fall in behind the gate. When you're on the track, if you're galloping, you run the risk of your horse stumbling, and basically you get catapulted off of the horse into the dirt, mainly head first. You run the risk of just injuries to the horse during galloping, or even just walking, up to the track. Another horse could hit your horse, or you just freak accidents, all over the place. You just never know what's going to happen because horses are unpredictable.
Okay. As an exercise rider, did you ever have to worry about any legal issues?
As an exercise rider, no. But as an assistant trainer to my dad, we did have to deal with more of the legal side of the horse industry, being the different owners that would bring horses to us. We would have to, sign contracts and stuff like that. And that's why I enjoyed sticking to the exercise riding aspect of things, is because it was just less stress on me.
Okay. And what about now that you're an advisor? Do you have to worry about that as much?
No, not as much.
Okay. So, Bryce, if you were to return to the industry as an exercise rider, what changes do you hope have been implemented?
More so on the safety aspect side of things. For the horses, the riders, I know when I first started, wearing a riding vest wasn't mandatory. Although I always wore one, and so did my father. It's now mandatory at 95% of the racetracks around the country. As far as horses, each morning a horse is checked out. If he's got any warmth in his legs, or and he's kind of limpy, he doesn't go to the track. He gets to see a vet immediately, and that's one thing that has been implemented track-wide to reduce the risk of injury to horse and rider.
So in other words, as of now, all of the changes that you hoped to see have actually been implemented already?
Yes.
Okay. So if someone were thinking about working in the racing industry, what would you tell them?
First and foremost, I just tell them to follow. If that's their dream, follow their dream. Just make sure that that's something that you really want to do, because it's not guaranteed money 5 days a week or 6 days a week or however, but make sure that you have all the necessary safety equipment, helmet, vest, and that you find a trainer that you fit well with when you start, and that sort of thing.
So, Bryce, I did have a couple of individuals who were wondering why it is that you chose to leave the racing industry and join the Army.
Well, I always wanted to join the military, travel, see the world, do something for my country. And when September 11th happened, I figured, why not? It's something I've always wanted to do, and it would make me proud to be who I was. I chose the job in the Army that I chose was something that sounded really, really good, actually, and really fun. I enjoyed being a cavalry scout. Basically, it's a mixture of a lot of jobs. It's still combat arms. It's a lot better than infantry, I tell people. But you get to do a lot of cool stuff, and that's basically why I chose that.
So, Bryce, when you joined the Army, you completely stopped working with horses, lost your passion, or how did that end up working?
No, I had an opportunity to join a special ceremonial unit in the military, known as the 1st Cav Horse Detachment. They basically do parades, ceremonies, mounted weapons demonstrations, and it gave me a look at the past, so to speak, at how the Army first started out. You know, you had during the Civil War time, you had the cavalry, and you know that spark became bigger and broader as far as my aspect and view on the horse industry, and that's why I got back into it once I got out of the military, and I still stayed involved in it while I was in the military. It was just on a smaller scale.
Okay, very cool. So let me just make sure I'm getting this right. Not all Cav Scouts interact with horses any longer. Is that true?
That is very true. The horse attachment was basically it was an all volunteer unit, so you had jobs from all over the military, active duty military. You could have mechanics, aviation, people. You could have supply people, and cavalry scouts join that unit. Everybody came together and worked as a team.
All right, so one last real quick question, Bryce. If you were to recommend anything for people who are more interested in the exercise rider aspect of the horse industry, is there a specific documentary or TV series, anything like that you would recommend to them?
Actually, yes. There's a YouTube channel. It's called It's My Job Exercise Rider. And all you got to do is just in the search box, just search exercise rider for horses, and there it is, right there. The videos are various lengths, and under there's a lot more videos you can look at, and you can actually get a wider field of view on what it takes to be an exercise rider.